Hello, Year 3, and it's time for Lesson 6 of our How to Train a Dragon writing series that we're doing at the moment. So I do hope that you are ready to start and you can remember some of what we did last week. So our can I is, can I plan and write the second part of the opening scene? And today we're going to plan and write the second part of our How to Train Our Dragon opening scene, looking at a writing warm-up. Then we're going to review what we've already seen, plan in our steps to success, and then write our sentences. So our writing warm-up today, we're going to look at phrases and clauses and the difference between them. So for example, a phrase is a group of words without a verb. So that's when we talk about phrases similar to our ENPs, where we have an expanded noun phrase and two adjectives followed by a noun. There is no verb in that phrase. There is no doing word. And then a clause is a group of words that contains a verb. So the cat sat on the mat. The sat is the verb in that sentence. So can we remind ourselves what a verb is? A verb is a doing or a being word. If you do it or you are it, then the word is a verb. Verbs describe actions and they describe being words. So I am, you are, he is, I am are all being words. Something is happening to that person. They belong there. So if we had a phrase such as below the village, it's a phrase because it does not have a verb. It is a prepositional phrase because it's telling us where something is happening. Do you remember back to last week when we had the cat slide up about where was the cat? They were all prepositions. So this is telling us that below the village, something might be happening. The innocent sheep. The sheep is innocent. It doesn't say that the sheep is actually doing anything. So again, a phrase. And here we have above the crashing waves. So crashing is our adjective. The waves are what we're describing. And we know that it's whatever's happening is above the crashing waves. So this is a prepositional phrase. It's telling us where something is happening, and crash itself without the ing would be the verb, but with the ing it becomes the adjective. How about this one? The raging fires burned. So burned is our verb, isn't it? It's telling us what those fires are doing, okay? So if we didn't have burned and we just had the raging fires, that would be a phrase. But by adding burned, we've now made a clause. The village huts stood sturdily on the hill. What are the village huts doing? They are standing on that hill. So the stood is our verb in that sentence, yet another clause. And the sheep grazed on the grass. Grazed is our verb in this sentence. So yet again, another clause because something is doing something somewhere. The sheep are grazing on the grass. Right, your task then, you have four groups of words here. I would like you please to decide whether they are phrases or clauses. Pause the video now while you have a go. Excellent work, Year 3. So let's go through our answers. Number 1, the flickering lanterns is a phrase. There is no verb in that sentence. We have an adjective and a noun, but no verb. Powerful waves crashed on the cliffs. What did they do? They crashed. So you've got your verb. So that is a clause. Number 3, in the distance. No verb, no doing word. It's a prepositional phrase. We know that we're looking in the distance, but we don't know why. So it is a phrase. And number 4, the eerie fog hovered above the water. What is the fog doing? It's hovering. So that therefore has a verb in it. So it is a clause. There we go. There are verbs identified. So if we were talking about our sentence types, which we've done quite a lot of recently, a simple sentence has one main clause, and there is Mr. Main staring at us. A compound sentence has two main clauses joined by a coordinating conjunction. Just have a quick think. What is a coordinating conjunction? Which three have you learnt? And there is a clue on the screen to help you. Well done, but, or, and, BOA words, fantastic. And our complex sentence is one subordinate clause and a main clause. Now, a subordinate clause, shown by Robin here, from Batman and Robin, does not make sense on its own. It is the helper to our main clause. It gives extra information, okay, to that main clause. So let's have a look at these three sentences. Number one, the villagers built the huts and they were skilled fishermen. Number two, while the sheep munched on the succulent grass, an unknown danger lurked in the sky above them. And number three, suddenly the sheep was snatched from where it stood. Can you please label those three sentences? Which ones are they? Simple, compound, or complex? Okay. Our first sentence then. The villagers built the huts and they were skilled fishermen. What did you spot in there? Excellent, the and in the middle. That's one of our BOA words, isn't it? So now let's just double check that both sides of that and make sense on their own. The villagers built the huts. It's got a verb, it makes sense. They were skilled fishermen. They were doing it, another verb. So therefore, both sides of that and make sense. So that is a compound sentence. Number two, while the sheep munched on the succulent grass, an unknown danger lurked in the sky above them. Which one of those makes sense? Which one could stand on its own where that comma is? While the sheep munched on the succulent grass, an unknown danger lurked in the sky above them. Absolutely, we've got the link there with our comma, but our conjunction is actually the word while at the beginning of the sentence, and that is a complex sentence. Fantastic job, well done. And number three, a simple sentence. We have our suddenly, which is our prepositional starter, our fronted adverbial, but the sheep was doing one thing and it's being described as what it was doing. It was snatched from where it stood. So that is a simple sentence. Well done. Okay, let's review and recap what we have already written. So far, we have written the following, or I have written the following, and you guys have written your own piece of text. So let's go through this one together. Then I'm going to give you a few minutes to go through your own piece of writing and remind yourself of exactly what you have written. So, a thick blanket of eerie silver mist hung in the ebony midnight sky. It floated elegantly just above the water and almost entirely obscured the view of the island behind it. In the distance, colossal looming watchtowers guarded a small, rickety Viking settlement. Amber fires glowed in their mouths as the raging sea crashed violently against the jagged rocks below. Okay, what I'd like you to do now is just to find your notes from the last lesson and just read through your sentences that you have written. Just remind yourself of what you wrote. Off you go. Fantastic job. And I've seen some of your paragraphs and they are absolutely outstanding. You've done a fab job. So let's move on. Okay, so the sounds that we heard were sheep grazing noisily, and they were naive, unsuspecting sheep. And our setting was flickering lanterns in the distance, white sheep like dots in a remote, sleepy village. So we're moving on to the next part of our build-up. Here, we've got some verbs and adverbs to describe the village. And I've put these together for you. Lanterns flickered warmly, huts huddled closely together, huts stood sturdily on the landscape. And we can also use these ones. We've got some verbs and adverbs to describe the sheep here. Grazed unsuspectingly or carried on innocently. So our green words are our verbs and our purple words are our adverbs. And in fact, all of our adverbs give themselves away because they have the ly ending, don't they? Today's writing is going to focus on zooming into the village from a distance and seeing the sheep on the hillside and the huts on the mountainside, and finally zooming in onto those innocently gazing sheep. So those are the three scenes that we're going to describe today. So let's watch the beginning of the clip and focus on those three short scenes.
This is Burke. It's 12 days north of hopeless and a few degrees south of freezing to death. It's located solidly on the meridian of misery. My village. In a word, sturdy. And it's been here for 7 generations, but every single building is new. We have fishing, hunting, and a charming view of the sunsets. The only problems are the pests. You see, most places have mice or mosquitoes. We have...
Excellent. So that is the same clip that we have been using all the way through to help us with our story. So now our task is to write at least, and that means please challenge yourself and write more than one, if possible, sentence for each of these points. So we're going to be writing a description of the sheep on the hillside, a description of the wooden huts, and a description of the sheep grazing unaware of the threat. Now, moving on, we must remember that when we write, we include capital letters, finger spaces, full stops, and we always read it again to check that we've actually written what we think we have and we haven't missed out any words. Before we commit to writing it down, we have to think about our sentence carefully, say it out loud, decide whether we like it or whether we want to change it, write it, and then check it. And when we check it, that's our time to improve our sentence. Today's aims are, we would like precise adjectives to describe a setting, and we've got those in our word bank already. Precise adverbs and verbs to describe the actions, and again, we've got those already. And today, we're specifically looking for a range of sentence types: simple, compound, and complex. So we're going to do a my turn, your turn. Our first sentences are going to be about the sheep. So I'm going to write my sentence, and then you are going to have your turn at writing your own sentence. So I've already written a sentence below. On the hillside, white, fluffy sheep stood out like dots on a green canvas as they roamed freely on the wild island. Now you can see there, I've got my prepositional phrase at the beginning, on the hillside. I have got an ENP, my expanded noun phrase, white, fluffy sheep, adjective, comma, adjective, noun, white, fluffy sheep, stood out like dots on a green canvas. And I've used canvas there to compare the grass to a painting. So it looks like a picture that you would find on the wall. So on a green canvas. And I could have stopped there. I could have put a full stop, but I thought actually I could add a little bit more information. And I could do that by making this a complex sentence. So I used the subordinating conjunction as they roamed freely on the wild island. So they roamed freely on the wild island doesn't really tell me too much, but it gives me a little bit more information about how they were going and what they were doing. So that is a complex sentence. Okay, now it's your turn. You've got the picture there and your success criteria. So remember, I'd like at least one sentence describing this picture, but if you're going to challenge yourself, 2 would be even better. Pause the video and off you go. Fabulous job. Don't forget to read your sentences out loud so that you can check that they make sense. Okay, next one, moving on. These huts on the hillside. So we can see the flickering lights in the window and the torches outside so that they can find their way, can't we? And that they're all higgledy-piggledy on the island. They're all in different places. So here is my sentence. Sturdy wooden huts, there's my ENP, huddled together on the craggy landscape, and their warm flickering lanterns glowed in the dark night. So I wonder who can tell me what type of sentence that is. Have a look, there's a couple of clues in there. So we've got the BOA word in the between 2 main phrases. Our BOA word for this sentence is and. Sturdy wooden huts, ENP, huddled together, that's that up-leveled verb telling us what's going on the craggy landscape where it lives. So that is one main phrase. Sturdy wooden huts huddled together on the craggy landscape. Then there's our BOA word, and our second main phrase, their warm flickering lanterns glowed in the dark night. Glowed is our second verb, isn't it? So each one of those main phrases has a verb in it. Each one can stand on its own, but to make it flow better, we've turned it into a compound sentence by putting and in the middle and joining the 2 together. Okay, your turn. Off you go. Welcome back. Right, our last bit of writing today. Here are our 2 sheep munching away on the grass. So here is my sentence. Outside, prepositional start here, unsuspecting innocent sheep grazed happily on the lush green grass. So I've got my grazed is my main verb in that sentence. I have an ENP, my unsuspecting innocent sheep, and I've got lush green grass. But what type of sentence have I written? Compound, complex, or simple? You're correct. It is a simple sentence. It just has the one verb in it. There are no conjunctions joining either main or subordinate clauses together. Right, your turn. Off you go. Excellent. So now let's read through all of the sentences that we have written and see that it all makes sense. Here we go. On the hillside, white fluffy sheep stood out like dots on a green canvas as they roamed freely on the wild island. Sturdy wooden huts huddled together on the craggy landscape, and their warm flickering lanterns glowed in the dark night. Outside, unsuspecting innocent sheep grazed happily on the lush green grass. Excellent. Right, so now your turn to read your writing, and if there's somebody nearby that you would like to share it with, go and read it to them and ask their opinion. Fantastic. As soon as you're back, let's click on to the next slide. So today we have looked at and completed our writing warm-up. We've reviewed the scene, we've planned our steps to success, and then we've written our answers. And you have done a fabulous job, Year 3. I'm really looking forward to reading that second paragraph of our scene. Right, we'll see you for the next lesson. Bye.